If you ride a motorcycle even just on weekends, this might be the most important video you'll watch all year. From engine-killing habits you don't even realize you're doing, to pro-level hacks mechanics won't tell you, and illegal mods that actually make your bike run better, this isn't just another tips video. This is real talk from the road pulled from over 300,000 plus miles of hard-earned experience and cold, costly lessons. So don't blink. Because the next 60 minutes could save your engine, your money, and maybe even your life. Mod number 1. Mirror deletion or mini mirrors. Clean look? Yes. Legal everywhere? Definitely not. The CRG blind spot mirror is small, barely 2 inches wide, and mounts low near the bar ends. Some riders ditch mirrors completely for the track-ready vibe or replace stock units with these minimal options. The problem? In many jurisdictions, mirrors must be at least 3 inches in diameter and positioned above the handlebar level. But why do riders do it? Because smaller mirrors reduce drag slightly, eliminate buffeting around your arms, and clean up the cockpit for better aerodynamics and visibility of your dash. It's more than cosmetic. It actually improves comfort and line of sight. Just know, you might get cited if your local laws require 1 or 2 factory-size mirrors. Number 2. Custom fork wrap LED turn signals. Turn signals wrapped around the fork legs using flexible LED strips look sleek and modern. These true wrap styles often flash brighter than stock indicators and hug the bike frame tightly, reducing wind resistance and clutter. But in many countries and states, signal laws specify distance between left and right indicators, minimum size, and visibility range. If they're too close together, or washed out by the headlight, they're considered illegal. Why do riders still use them? They improve visibility from the front and don't protrude, which means no more snapping off stalks in tight parking or lane filtering. And honestly, they look factory clean. Legal in some states, gray area in others. Know your regs before you ride. Number 3. Wireless charging phone. Mounts. RAM mounts dominate the phone holder market. The newer versions feature built-in wireless charging, convenient, sleek, and powerful. You clip your phone in and juice up on the go. But depending on your region, that wireless function can get you fined. How? Some traffic laws consider the act of activating a function of an electronic device while riding a violation, even if it's just charging. It's rare, but it has happened. A few riders in Canada were cited for this very issue, though charges were later dropped. Also, on hot days, these mounts can overheat your phone due to wireless inefficiency. Performance boost? Yes, you stay charged for maps, comms, and telemetry. Legal issue? Maybe. Check out the description if you want to grab these mods and tools I personally use on my motorcycles. Number 4. Replacing your instrument cluster with a COSO, or aftermarket gauge. Stock gauge clusters are often clunky, outdated, and ugly. COSO makes sleek digital replacements with better visuals, gear indicators, and custom options. Riders love them for the modern readouts, compact fit, and clean look. But here's the catch. Replacing the factory cluster erases or hides the original odometer, which in many regions is considered tampering. Legally, you're supposed to record mileage, affix a disclosure, and declare it on sale. But few do. Even dealers have been caught resetting digital clusters or hiding stickers in awkward places like under seats or fenders. Riders who install digital dashes often see it as a performance mod, but unless you document it properly, it may land you in legal trouble when selling or registering your bike. Number 5. Odometer. Zeroing after mod install. Closely tied to Mod 4, this mod gets sneakier. When riders swap clusters or refresh bikes cosmetically, they often reset the odometer to 0, especially if the original dash was broken or unreadable. But unless you have documentation proving the original mileage and provide a signed statement, it's technically considered odometer fraud in many countries, even if it's accidental. Why do riders still do it? Because bikes look new, feel new, and having a fresh start feels clean. But buyers and inspectors see a zeroed odo and assume you're hiding wear. If caught, this can lead to fines or forced buybacks depending on your region. Bottom line, if you're swapping parts for performance or aesthetics, always log the real mileage somewhere visible, preferably near the ignition or on the frame. These first 5 mods already walk the line between genius and illegal. Hit that subscribe button now, because the next 6 push performance even further, and the laws even fuzzier. Number 6. Decat exhaust systems. Removing the catalytic converter, or decatting, is illegal in most developed countries. The cat is what keeps your emissions clean, and tampering with it violates EPA regulations in the US or MOT compliance rules in the UK. But here's the reality. Removing the cat dramatically reduces exhaust restriction, boosts throttle response, and drops weight, often 6 to 10 pounds instantly. On some bikes, dyno runs show 2 to 5 horsepower gains from a decat pipe alone. It also lowers exhaust temps near your feet and allows for deeper sound. That's why track riders and stunters love this mod. Still, if your region does emissions testing or sound checks, be careful. Getting caught with a decat can cost you $2,500 in fines in California alone. Number 7. Race-tuned ECU flash. Tuning your ECU removes factory limitations on fuel mapping, throttle response, and top speed. Shops like Woolwich and V-CycleNut offer full flash services. The result? Crisper fueling, sharper acceleration, and more usable mid-range. The problem? Many of these flashes disable O2 sensors, remove exhaust valve control, and ignore emission standards, making them illegal for street use. In the US, the EPA has cracked down on companies offering competition-only flashes that customers still use on public roads. But the performance boost is real. Flashing a Yamaha R6 or GSX R750 can unlock 6 to 10% more power. Riders report smoother throttle roll-on, especially in lower gears where factory maps feel choppy. Just don't post your results online with license plates visible. People have been fine that way. Number 8. Integrated taillights with built-in turn signals. Integrated tail lights combine brake lights and turn signals into a single sleek unit. They clean up the tail end, reduce drag, and eliminate bulky stalks. But most traffic laws require a specific distance between left and right signals, usually 12 inches minimum, and require amber indicators. Integrated tail lights are often red-only and too close together to meet code. In states like Texas or New York, you can get pulled over just for this mod. In Europe, it'll likely fail roadworthiness tests. Still, riders love them because they simplify wiring, reduce weight, and make the rear end look razor sharp. Just be prepared to swap back to legal blinkers before inspections. Number 9. Adjustable or aftermarket rear sets. Without DOT certification, aftermarket rear sets improve ground clearance, body position, and foot feel. On the track, they're a must. On the street, they're a gray area. Most aren't DOT certified for street use. Why? Because they lack the anti-vibration features, brake switch integration, or visibility requirements needed for street legality. That said, rear sets can make long-distance riding easier by adjusting for rider height or knee angle. They also reduce peg scraping during spirited cornering. One rider on a CBR 1000RR said his Woodcraft rear sets made the bike feel 20 pounds lighter in turns, just from leverage and positioning. But again, if it doesn't pass local standards, an insurance inspector could flag it post-accident. Number 10. Bar-end turn signals with no front reflectors. Bar-end signals like those from MotoGadget or Rizoma look stunning. They keep your cockpit clean, reduce wind drag, and light up brilliantly from the sides. The downside? Most traffic codes require forward-facing amber lights with a fixed distance from centerline, and bar ends often violate that. Worse, removing stock indicators usually means removing front reflectors, which are required in many countries. Still, thousands of riders use this mod to slim down naked bikes, scramblers, or cafe builds. If your state allows DOT-equivalent hardware, you might be in the clear. If not, it's a fix-it ticket waiting to happen. Number 11. Exhaust baffle deletion, or straight pipe. Insert removal. Removing the internal baffle or DB killer gives your bike the bark it deserves. No more muffled sound, just raw engine note and instant throttle feedback. But there's a catch. In most places, if your bike exceeds 95 decibels at idle or lacks the required noise compliance stamp, it's illegal. California's Vehicle Code Section 27151 flat out bans modified exhausts over a certain threshold. Despite that, thousands of riders still pop out their baffles. Why? Because it actually helps low-end throttle response and reduces back pressure on bikes that are choked by emissions hardware. One rider with an MT-09 said deleting the baffle made his throttle stop feeling delayed, and he gained better pull in gears 1 through 3. Just keep your insert handy and your ears open for sirens. Bonus mod: removing the license plate bracket for a floating plate. Look, this one's all about aesthetics, but it comes with risk. Some riders relocate their license plate under the seat or near the swing arm to clean up the tail. It gives the bike a floating, minimal look, especially when paired with an integrated taillight. Scam number 1: charging for parts. They never replaced. It's one of the oldest tricks in the book. The shop prints a bill for new spark plugs, air filters, or coolant, but they never swapped them out. The original parts are cleaned, left in place, or worse, still worn out. Unless you ask for your old parts back, you'll never know. In many areas, it's legal to request your used parts after service. If the shop hesitates or makes excuses, that's a red flag. Riders have caught this with oil filters, brake pads, and even batteries, charged for new, but untouched. Number 2. The routine. Brake service you didn't need. Brake pads wear down slowly, and modern bikes often go 20,000 plus miles before needing new ones. But dishonest mechanics will show you brake dust and call it excessive wear. They'll say, your pads are thin, when they're still above 3 millimeters, the safe zone. They'll recommend rotor replacement when minor scoring is normal. Worst case? They'll suggest replacing the full caliper for a simple piston clean. The fix: ask for pad thickness measurements and compare to manufacturer specs. If you're above the minimum, you're good. Number 3. Overpriced fluids with labor. Added on. Oil changes, coolant flushes, and brake bleeding often come with double-billed labor. The shop charges for the fluid, and then charges an extra hour of labor to monitor and top off. In reality, these tasks are included in basic maintenance time. You're paying $60 to $80 an hour for someone to pour in coolant. One rider spotted a $90 charge for coolant application after already paying $120 for a flush. The fix? Ask to see the labor breakdown before approving any fluid jobs. Check out the description if you want to grab the secret tools I personally use on my motorcycles. Number 4. Your chain's shot. Shops often scare riders into chain and sprocket replacements far earlier than needed. They'll say the chain is binding or out of spec, even if it just needs a deep clean. A chain should only be replaced if it has hard kinks, uneven tension, or excessive stretch. A little rust or grime doesn't mean it's done. Some shops even keep old chains with seized links on hand to show you what yours looks like, hoping you won't check it yourself. If your sprocket teeth are still symmetrical and your chain hasn't stretched past spec, don't fall for it. Number 5. Inflating the labor time on simple jobs. Changing spark plugs? Shouldn't take more than 30 minutes. Replacing brake pads? Maybe 45. But some shops bill 2+ hours for these simple tasks, especially if they think you won't know any better. They use vague terms like diagnostic labor or inspection time to pad the invoice. Many riders have been billed 1.5 hours for a job listed as 0.5 hours in the factory service manual. Always ask for the labor estimate in writing and compare it to the book time listed for your make and model. Number 6. You need new fork seals. Fork seal leaks aren't always real leaks. Sometimes dirt builds up under the dust wiper and weeps oil. Dishonest shops wipe it clean, say, "We fixed it," and bill you for new seals they never installed. Other times they use minor residue as an excuse to quote a full fork rebuild, often $250 to $400. In truth, many leaks can be fixed with a $5 seal cleaner tool and 10 minutes of time. Ask to see the new seals installed. Or better, mark your fork legs before dropping off the bike. If the marks are still there afterward, they didn't open the fork. Number 7. Charging for battery testing or replacement without cause. Many riders have been told, "Your battery failed our test," only to pay $100 plus for a replacement when their bike was just sitting for a while. Shops rarely load test batteries properly. They use voltage checks which don't show capacity. A weak battery that starts the bike but measures 12.4 volts might get flagged. Before replacing, insist on a load test or ask to see the resting and crank voltage. If it drops below 9.6 volts under crank, it's truly weak. Otherwise, you may just need a trickle charge, not a new battery. Caught off guard by these first 7 scams? You're not alone. Tap that subscribe button so you never get overbilled, overcharged, or outsmarted again. The next 7 scams are even sneakier, and they hit your wallet harder. Number 8. The pre-ride safety inspection add-on fee. Many shops now include a complimentary safety inspection with every service, but some slip in a charge for it, calling it a ride readiness check or multi-point inspection. Riders get billed $30 to $75 for a checklist they never asked for. Worse, these inspections are often vague. They involve visual checks only, no torque wrenches, no diagnostic tools. In some cases, it's a printed template with boxes ticked before the bike even rolls in. If you didn't authorize it, you're not required to pay for it. Always ask what's included in the job quote and refuse surprise inspection fees after the fact. Number 9. Your tires are dry rotted. Rubber ages, but not as quickly as some shops claim. A tire that's 5 years old might look dull or show surface lines, but that doesn't always mean it's dangerous. Some shops will point out tiny sidewall cracks and recommend immediate replacement, even if the tread is deep and wear is even. Check the DOT date code yourself. 4 digits, like 2319, means week 23 of 2019. If your tire is under 6 years old and stored properly, it's usually still roadworthy. Minor cosmetic cracks aren't necessarily structural damage. Replacing a pair of tires early can cost $400 to $600, often for no real reason. Number 10. Recommending new spark plugs every 5,000 miles. Modern spark plugs last far longer than they used to. Iridium and platinum types often go 20,000 to 30,000 miles without issue. Yet many shops still recommend new plugs at every service interval. One rider with a modern twin-cylinder bike was told to change his plugs at 4,500 miles. The factory spec? 18,000. Swapping early wastes money and risks cross-threading or over-tightening the plug. Always ask what type of plug your bike uses and refer to the factory manual for the actual replacement interval. Number 11. We fixed it, but no part was replaced. Sometimes shops will diagnose an issue, pretend to fix it, and bill for labor without actually touching the bike. One common example, idle fluctuation. They adjusted the idle screw, but really just reset the ECU or let the bike warm up. Another case, cleaned throttle bodies when no tools were used. It's hard to prove without surveillance, but if your bike behaves exactly the same and you weren't shown a replaced part or repair steps, question it. Any repair without clear documentation or before-after evidence should raise flags. Number 12. Selling you OEM spec. Parts that aren't OEM. You ask for original parts. They say, sure, but what you get is a generic aftermarket part marked up like OEM. For example, a factory air filter might cost $28. The shop installs a $12 aftermarket version and charges you $32 for it, claiming it's original. Same with oil filters, brake pads, and clutch levers. The real issue? Some off-brand filters lack bypass valves or proper fitment, risking engine damage. Always check the part numbers and request the packaging. You paid for OEM? Get OEM. Number 13. You need a valve adjustment. Valve checks are labor-intensive, but some shops quote the full price without ever opening the valve cover. They assume you won't ask for proof. If they didn't measure the clearance and log it, they didn't do the job. No feeler gauge, no adjustment. One rider was billed $380 for a check, only to later inspect his bolts, still painted shut from the factory. The shop never touched a thing. Ask to see the measurements or the removed cover. No report equals no real work. Number 14. Charging labor on top of flat rate. Services. Flat rate services are supposed to include everything: parts, labor, and basic adjustments. But some shops quote a valve check at $300, then add $60 for gasket labor, $40 for coolant top-up, and $50 for miscellaneous shop supplies. That's not a flat rate, it's a bait and switch. A real flat rate includes prep, cleaning, refilling, and minor extras. If a shop starts stacking charges on top of a package price, call it out. Always request a line-by-line quote in advance. Bonus scam. Charging for diagnostic labor when they already know the fix. This one hits riders who bring in a bike with a known issue, like a dead battery, bad starter relay, or worn chain. The shop says, "We need to run diagnostics," then bills you an extra hour or two of labor, even if the problem was obvious. In many cases, the tech checks the issue in under 10 minutes, but still writes down a full hour of troubleshooting. Worse, they might roll it into the final invoice as a vague line item: electrical diagnostic, $120. Real diagnostics involve testing, tools, and time. But if the issue is immediately clear, or if you already told them what's wrong, this fee is just a padded charge. Always clarify: is the diagnostic fee waived if I approve the repair? Legit shops will apply that charge toward the total. Shady ones double dip. Ask before they start. Protect your wallet after the problem's already solved. Number 1. Riding the clutch in stop-and-go traffic. Feathering the clutch to crawl in traffic seems like control, but it's actually grinding away your plates and contaminating your oil. Most motorcycles use a wet clutch, meaning the same oil lubricates both your engine and clutch pack. When you ride the clutch constantly, the friction heats up the plates, glazing the surfaces and cooking the oil. Over time, your clutch starts slipping and your oil loses its protective quality. You'll notice the signs: harder gear shifts, a burnt smell, and trouble finding neutral. To fix it, stop feathering. Use your rear brake and throttle to manage slow speeds. Let the clutch fully engage or fully release. Your transmission and oil will last much longer. 2. Forgetting to adjust or replace the air filter. Your engine breathes through the air filter, but once it clogs, it has to suck harder, pulling in more fuel and working against resistance. This creates a rich mixture that fouls spark plugs, gums up valves, and robs power. Dirty air filters also increase crankcase pressure, especially on bikes with breather systems tied into the intake. This pressure forces oil vapor into your throttle body, creating sludge that suffocates idle air valves and sensors. Riders who ignore their air filters often find blackened throttle bodies and sticky carbon buildup that shortens engine life. On dusty roads or rainy days, filters clog even faster. Don't wait for loss of power. Check it monthly. Clean or replace it every 3,000 to 6,000 miles, or sooner if you ride hard or in harsh conditions. A dirty air filter can reduce engine lifespan and efficiency by up to 10 to 15%, according to dyno tests. Don't let your engine choke. 3. Lugging the engine in high gear at low speed. You're rolling in 5th gear at 25 miles per hour, twisting the throttle, and your engine sounds like it's struggling. That's called lugging, riding at too low an RPM for your gear. It might feel fuel efficient, but lugging stresses your crankshaft, piston rods, and transmission under unnatural strain. It also creates low-frequency vibration, which over time loosens engine mounts and bolts. If your engine grumbles or feels rough under throttle, it's telling you it's unhappy. The solution? Downshift. Keep the engine in its natural power band, typically 4,000 to 6,000 RPM for most street bikes. That's where efficiency and engine health live. Check out the description if you want to grab the secret tools I personally use on my motorcycles. Such 4. Skipping oil changes or running past intervals. Oil doesn't just lubricate. It cools, cleans, and protects your engine from itself. Run it too long, and it becomes abrasive. Old oil thickens, builds acid, and carries carbon and metallic shavings that grind through your internals. You might not see damage immediately, but it's building under the surface. Hydraulic lifters collapse, cam lobes pit, and rings wear unevenly. The worst part? Oil that's broken down can't cushion heat. That means your engine runs hotter, shortening gasket life and inviting early head warp. Even if it looks clean, oil loses viscosity and film strength over time. Riders who go by feel often end up with pitted camshafts, burnt piston rings, and clogged oil filters. And don't think synthetic oil means forever. Stick to the service interval. For most bikes, that's every 3,000 to 5,000 miles or 6 months. Always change your filter with the oil. Skipping either is like brushing your teeth, but never flossing. Number 5. Constant short trips without heat cycling. Starting your bike for a 2-minute store run might feel harmless, but it's one of the fastest ways to corrode your engine from the inside out. When the engine doesn't reach full operating temperature, moisture and raw fuel never burn off. This leftover condensation forms acid and sludge in your oil. That leads to internal rust, clogged oil passages, and early bearing wear. Mechanics have opened up engines with under 10,000 miles, completely gummed up, because the owner only rode short, cold trips. The fix? Ride at least 20 to 30 minutes once or twice a week. Let that oil reach temperature and clean your engine the way it was designed to. Already surprised by what's killing your engine? We've only hit the halfway mark. Tap subscribe now so you don't miss the next 5 habits, each one more damaging than the last. Number 6. Letting old fuel sit in the tank or injectors. Leaving fuel in your bike for weeks or months can quietly destroy everything from your injectors to your combustion chamber. Ethanol in modern fuel absorbs moisture, leading to phase separation, internal rust, and sticky residue that gums up your throttle body or jets. And it's not just older bikes. Modern fuel-injected engines are even more sensitive due to tighter tolerances and high-pressure injectors. In just 4 to 6 weeks, that fuel starts breaking down, leaving gum-like varnish in fuel rails and pump filters. Once clogged, fuel delivery becomes erratic, leading to misfires or lean running, which overheats valves and pistons. If your bike takes more than a few seconds to start, bogs under throttle, or smells off, it's probably fuel decay. Injectors clog, valves stick. Your bike struggles and your engine wears faster trying to compensate. Use a stabilizer if parking more than 2 weeks. If it's sitting for a season, drain the fuel completely or top up with ethanol-free gas. A $10 stabilizer now can save you a $500 injector cleaning later, or a full fuel system teardown. 7. Ignoring rev matching on downshifts. Slamming into a lower gear without blipping the throttle may sound cool, but it's violent on your internals. When you downshift without matching revs, your engine suddenly spikes in RPM to catch up with wheel speed. This mechanical shock loads your clutch, piston rings, valve train, and even your timing chain. Repeat it enough, and you'll notice slipping, rattling, or worse, complete drivetrain wear out. Rev matching isn't just for racers. Even casual riders benefit. A simple throttle blip before releasing the clutch makes the downshift smoother and keeps components happy. Want your gearbox and engine to last? Match the revs, every time. 8. Using the wrong octane fuel. If your bike calls for 91 plus octane and you fill it with 87, thinking it's cheaper, you're literally making it knock itself to death. Low-octane fuel combusts faster and harder, causing pre-ignition and detonation. Detonation is when fuel explodes instead of burns. The shockwave hammers your pistons, overheats valves, and puts your connecting rods under violent stress. Over time, it leads to cracked ringlands, eroded plug tips, and pinging so subtle you won't hear it. But your engine feels every hit. You won't always hear it. But over time, the engine wears down from the inside. On the flip side, Don't use higher octane than needed. It doesn't improve performance, just costs more. Know your bike's octane rating and stick to it. A tank of cheap gas isn't worth a blown head gasket or a detonation-rattled piston crown. 9. Revving a cold engine right after startup. Twisting the throttle after a cold start might sound good, but it's torture for internal components. Cold oil is thick, sitting at the bottom of your crankcase, and hasn't yet reached critical parts like your camshaft and piston skirts. Revving before circulation builds causes metal-to-metal contact. In fact, studies show that up to 90% of engine wear happens in the first 60 seconds of cold operation, especially if revved. Even occasional throttle blips while warming up can scuff cylinder walls and damage bearings over time. The smart move? Start the engine, let it idle for 30 to 60 seconds, then ride gently until fully warmed. The roar can wait. 10. Running the bike in neutral to warm it up. Letting the engine idle in neutral while you get ready isn't warming anything. It's just creating uneven heat and poor circulation. Your bike warms up faster and healthier under light load, not by sitting still. Long idle times also cause fuel pooling in cold intake manifolds, especially in carbureted bikes, which washes cylinder walls and dilutes oil. This silent damage increases bore wear and ring degradation. When you idle too long, the oil heats slower, the plugs foul faster, and combustion becomes less efficient. The result? Hot spots, incomplete fuel burn, and faster carbon accumulation. Manufacturers design engines to warm during riding. That's when oil pressure and flow match real-world needs. Start the bike, idle 30 to 60 seconds max, then ride gently for the first few minutes. The idea isn't to blast off, it's to circulate evenly. Warm it by moving, not idling. Bonus habit: overfilling the oil just to be safe. Some riders top off the oil past the max line, thinking it adds protection. It doesn't. It actually creates foam, which reduces lubrication and puts pressure on crank seals. Foamed oil can't coat properly, and it traps air in bearings. That air becomes heat, and heat becomes wear. It can also back up into your breather system, soaking the airbox or causing misfire codes on EFE bikes. If your sight glass says full, leave it. If you can't see clearly, check with a cold bike on level ground. Overfilling is just as risky as running dry, and the damage looks identical once the engine fails. One crucial reminder: before you ride again, engine life depends on temperature, lubrication, and timing. Treat your bike like a high-performance machine, not a lawnmower. What you do in the first 5 minutes, or the last 1,000 miles, can decide whether it lives to 30,000 or dies before 10. Hack number 1. The delayed entry turnoff trick. When exiting a curve onto a side street or driveway, most riders turn too early, cutting into the inside and misjudging their lean. The fix? Ride a few feet past the turn-in point before starting your lean. This is called a delayed apex or delayed entry turnoff. By staying upright longer, you widen the angle and reduce the chance of clipping a curb, overshooting a driveway, or losing grip on sand. It also gives your front tire more traction since it's back to vertical when you initiate. Traction studies show that bikes upright before turn-in maintain 20 to 30% more margin of safety on poor surfaces. In rain or gravel, this can be the difference between a controlled entrance and a low-side crash. 2. Mid-corner throttle. Feeds to balance chassis. Many street riders chop throttle into corners and coast through. It works, but it's unstable. Instead, the pros apply a gentle 5 to 10% throttle mid-corner. This light roll-on compresses the rear suspension slightly, increasing rear grip and keeping the chassis balanced. The effect? Less front-end twitch, more exit speed, and better control if the surface changes. MotoGP data shows mid-corner throttle application reduces slide rate by 18%. On the street, that translates to smoother lines, reduced tire wear, and more predictable grip when exiting turns. Try it next time you lean in, and you'll feel the rear tire settle into the arc like it's reading your mind. 3. Use the rear brake to modulate suspension compression. Just before entering a corner, tap the rear brake gently, not to slow down, but to compress the rear suspension. This lowers the bike's rear end slightly, improving chassis stability without upsetting the front. It's subtle, but it transforms the way your bike enters corners. You feel more planted, especially over uneven or bumpy roads. This technique is common in race schools but rarely talked about on the street. Used properly, it gives you smoother transitions, better front-end feedback, and more mid-turn control without needing expensive suspension mods. Check out the description if you want to grab the secret tools I personally use on my motorcycles. Mark 4. Use tire pressure to tune handling temperature. Everyone checks tire pressure, but smart riders tune it. Tire manufacturers give cold PSI specs, but those are baselines. If your front tire feels vague or slippery after riding, it may be overinflated for the day's heat. If your rear is stepping out under throttle, it might be underinflated. Changing by just 1 to 2 PSI can raise or lower carcass temperature by 5 degrees Fahrenheit or more. Racers use this on the grid, but street riders benefit too, especially when weather, speed, or load changes. If your bike feels off, even with decent tread, adjust pressure slightly and monitor feel. It's a free way to improve grip, comfort, and feedback instantly. 5. Quick clutch bump for tight low-speed turns. Doing a U-turn on a narrow street? Here's the trick. Bump the clutch. With the throttle slightly open, pull in the clutch, then release it quickly while steering. This sends a small burst of torque to the rear wheel, pivoting the bike smoothly. It's faster and cleaner than feathering or slipping the clutch the whole time. Riding schools teach this for slow maneuvers in tight lots or traffic. It prevents stalling, keeps the bike upright, and helps turn the rear end without upsetting balance. Once you master it, you'll stop wobbling in circles and start carving tight turns like they're nothing. 6. Spot wipe your visor. Mid-ride, dust, fog, bugs. They all reduce your visibility, but most riders don't clean their visor until the next gas stop. Smart riders wipe on the go, at stoplights, red signals, or while waiting in traffic. Using a microfiber cloth tucked in your jacket or gloves with a squeegee, gently clean a small area of the visor. It doesn't take more than a second. One helmet cam study found riders who cleaned their visors every 10 to 15 minutes had a 10% faster hazard reaction time due to less glare, distortion, and eye strain. Visibility isn't just comfort, it's reaction time, and every second counts. These first 6 hacks already changed how you ride, and we're just halfway. Hit that subscribe button now. The next 7 take your confidence, control, and safety even further. 7. Target fix your exit. Most riders obsess over hitting the apex. But the real control comes from aiming your eyes to the exit as early as possible. This forces your body to lean into the future of the turn, keeps your posture more neutral, and lets the bike follow your visual line naturally. Rider safety training programs confirm that riders who shift their eyes to the corner exit earlier reduce lean angle and increase cornering stability. Your brain balances the bike in relation to where it thinks you're going, so feed it the right target. And when your target is clear, you ride cleaner and brake less. 8. Set helmet vents based on speed, not temperature. Vents aren't just for heat, they manage wind flow and noise. Opening all your vents at highway speed can create turbulence, fogging, and whistle. That's why experienced riders partially close the top or rear vents at higher speeds, especially in crosswinds. It's about controlling flow. For example, closing rear exhaust vents reduces suction at the back of your head and keeps air flowing more gently. In rain, front vents closed, chin vent open. It stops mist from swirling up into your face. The trick is to adjust for wind angle and velocity, not just how warm you feel. 9. Shift your body. Many riders think body positioning only matters at race pace. Not true. Even on street rides, subtle upper body shifts reduce lean angle, improve grip, and help manage surprises like gravel or uneven pavement. A slight lean in with the shoulders, even without full hang-off, lightens the outer bar and guides the bike more smoothly. On long sweepers or tight mountain curves, This gives you more usable tire surface and quicker directional changes. It also reduces fatigue because the bike isn't doing all the lean work alone. Even on a 300cc commuter, body shift matters. Factor 10. Use your foot pegs to stabilize during braking. Hard braking doesn't just load the front, it also lifts your body forward. Many riders compensate by gripping the bars tighter, which worsens handling. Smart riders push into the foot pegs instead. By pressing your feet down and slightly back, you anchor your hips, reduce bar pressure, and keep your steering light and responsive under deceleration. This technique, used in performance riding schools, keeps the chassis calm and your arms loose. Try it during your next emergency stop. You'll feel the difference instantly. 11. Use mirror checks as traffic radar. Mirrors aren't just for lane changes, they're a rear traffic radar. Pro riders check mirrors every 5 to 10 seconds. Not obsessively, but rhythmically. That situational awareness gives them extra time to plan around tailgaters, lane cutters, or weaving cars. Rear visibility is your early warning system. If a car closes in quickly, you can already shift position. If a vehicle is pacing beside you, it might turn without seeing you. One safety audit showed riders who checked mirrors consistently reacted 2.2 seconds faster to rear-end threats than those who only looked before lane changes. 12. Practice one-handed riding for control confidence. This doesn't mean riding recklessly. It means deliberate one-handed control practice in a safe, empty space. It teaches throttle finesse, body position balance, and weight shift mastery. By riding briefly with just your throttle hand on smooth roads, you teach your core to stabilize the bike. Then switch, gently holding the clutch while coasting in gear. Riders who do this build an instinctive feel for bike behavior, useful in low-speed control, slow turns, and even emergency avoidance. It's not a stunt, it's a discipline. 13. Preload your weight before bumps or road transitions. You hit an expansion joint, a pothole, or a sharp dip, and your suspension bottoms out. The fix? Preload your weight. As the front tire approaches the bump, slightly rise off the seat and let the legs absorb the energy. This move, borrowed from ADV and dirt riders, gives the suspension more room to work and takes the shock off your spine. On poorly paved city roads or mountain back roads, this single habit can preserve your wheels and your back. It's especially critical for riders carrying luggage or passengers. Preload your legs, stay fluid, and the bike flows through chaos like it's nothing. Bonus hack. Tuck your knees to stabilize in crosswinds. Strong sidewinds can throw your bike offline, especially on open highways or bridges. Most riders fight the bars to stay straight, but experienced riders use their knees instead. By tucking both knees into the tank, you create a tighter aerodynamic profile and anchor your lower body. This stabilizes the bike through your core, not your arms, keeping steering inputs light and precise. Tests from wind tunnel simulations confirm that tank grip and rider posture reduce lateral drift by up to 40% in gusty conditions. The less you fight the wind with your upper body, the more balanced and confident the ride feels. This trick is especially useful on adventure bikes, sport tours, or anytime you're loaded with luggage. Tighten the core, grip the tank, and let the wind slide past you, not shake you. One crucial reminder: never skip your pre-ride inspection. A 2-minute check of your chain, tires, and brakes can prevent breakdowns, crashes, and even save your life. It's the smallest habit with the biggest payoff. Mistake number 1. Revving a cold engine, like it's a drag bike. The engine's not ready, but some riders don't care. The moment they hit the starter, they're twisting the throttle like they're lining up at a race light. Problem is, cold oil hasn't made it to the top of the engine yet. This means pistons are scraping dry cylinders, cams are running dry, and every rev is accelerating wear. High RPM on a cold block scuffs piston skirts, damages rings, and weakens bearings. Experts agree. Let the engine idle 30 to 60 seconds, then ride gently until it warms up. Repeated cold revving turns your engine into a ticking time bomb, no matter how tough it sounds. Number 2. Riding on worn or improperly inflated tires. Bald tires don't just reduce grip, They increase your stopping distance dramatically. In rain, one panic brake can send you sliding, yet many riders keep tires until cords show. And it's not just tread depth. Underinflated tires overheat and wear faster, while overinflated ones reduce the contact patch and make handling twitchy. Tire pressure needs to be checked cold, not after a ride. And always match PSI to your load and bike type. One study found that riding with incorrect pressure can reduce tire lifespan by up to 40%. That's hundreds of dollars lost, and safety gambled away. Number 3. Ignoring basic maintenance until it's too late. Oil changes get skipped, chains go dry, brake fluid gets brown. Some riders treat maintenance like it's optional until they're stranded, or worse. Motorcycle engines are high-strung. They rev higher than cars and rely on fresh fluids to protect fast-moving internals. Dirty oil turns acidic and stops lubricating. A dry chain can snap at highway speed. Brake fluid over 2 years old can boil under stress and leave you with zero stopping power. Even neglected coolant turns corrosive, eating your water pump from the inside. Wheel bearings dry out, fork seals leak, and spark plugs foul. Smart riders follow the manual. They replace, not react. Because once damage shows, it's already too late. Check out the description if you want to grab the secret tools I personally use on my motorcycles. Number 4. Treating the clutch like an on-off button. Some riders abuse the clutch without even realizing. Holding the lever in at red lights, slipping it constantly in traffic, or dumping it hard at takeoff. All of it cooks your clutch plates fast. The clutch is designed for controlled engagement, not friction battles every stoplight. Overuse leads to glazed plates, burnt springs, and poor engagement. And no, it doesn't just happen. If your clutch is slipping after one season, it's likely your habits, not the part. Dragging the lever mid-corner or overfeeding throttle while feathering it also creates hot spots on the plates. Use neutral at long stops, engage smoothly, and stop riding the lever. Your clutch and wallet will thank you. Number 5. Overloading the bike like a pickup truck. Touring is great until your panniers, duffel bags, and tank bag weigh more than the bike. Riders who overload not only exceed the GVWR, gross vehicle weight rating. They throw off handling, stress the suspension, and weaken subframe bolts. The front wheel starts to feel light. Braking distance increases. And if luggage isn't secured properly, you're one bump away from losing gear on the freeway. What's worse, poor loading changes your center of gravity. You'll feel it on corner exit, especially in crosswinds or at high speeds. Motorcycles aren't pack mules. The more you load, the more you strain bearings, chain tension, tire balance, and shock performance. Weigh your setup, distribute properly, and don't exceed your bike's limits. Not all damage makes noise. If these mistakes already sound familiar, don't worry. You're catching them now, not after a breakdown. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss the next 6 habits that separate smart riders from the ones who end up in repair shops. Or worse. Number 6. Hammering the throttle without downshifting. Some riders skip gears or roll wide open in the wrong gear, expecting instant power. But lugging the engine, running it hard at low RPM, stresses internals even more than redlining. Engines are designed to build power in the mid to high range, where oil pressure is optimal and airflow is balanced. Hammering the throttle in 5th gear at 25 miles per hour. That's forcing your pistons to push hard without speed or momentum, causing detonation, premature bearing wear, and carbon buildup. Detonation, or knock, is when fuel combusts unevenly in the chamber, slamming into the piston instead of pushing it smoothly. It's silent at first, but over time it kills your head gasket and piston ring seal. Experienced riders downshift first, then roll on power. They listen to the engine, not just feel the pull. Stupid riders stay in too high a gear and confuse torque with engine abuse. Don't make your engine fight against itself. Gear it right and ride it smooth. Number 7. Relying only on front brake or rear brake. Braking isn't instinct. It's a skill. And bad habits form fast. Some riders use only the rear brake out of fear. Others rely too much on the front and forget the rear exists. Both extremes are dangerous. On pavement, front brakes do 70 to 90% of stopping, but the rear adds stability, especially in emergency stops or downhill. Using only one causes longer stopping distances, uneven pad wear, and less control. What many riders miss is that proper brake balance shifts as you ride. In loose gravel or wet surfaces, overusing the front brake locks the tire. Too much rear, and you fishtail. Proper braking blends both smoothly. Trail the rear into corners. Modulate the front on straights. This balance is what separates controlled stops from crashes and helps extend brake system life. ABS helps, but habits matter more. Don't rely on electronics to cover poor fundamentals. Number 8. Leaving fuel sitting for weeks or months. Modern fuel, especially ethanol blends, starts to break down after just 30 days. If you park your bike without treatment or draining the tank, you risk varnish forming inside your injectors, fuel pump, and lines. The result? Hard starts, bogging, and clogged jets. Some riders destroy entire fuel systems because they didn't touch their bike for a few months. What's worse, ethanol attracts moisture, which leads to internal rust inside your tank, and corrosion in injectors or carb float bowls. Even plastic fuel tanks can suffer from separation when exposed to decaying fuel. Use a stabilizer if parking more than 2 weeks. If you won't ride for a season, drain it, or at least top it up with ethanol-free fuel and stabilizer. One bottle of stabilizer costs $10. A fuel system rebuild? Try $500 and up. Don't ignore your gas tank. It'll bite back later. Number 9. Ignoring chain slack and alignment. Chain too loose? It'll slap, skip, and wear your sprockets. Too tight? It'll stress the transmission output shaft and crack seals. But here's what most don't realize. Chain tension should be checked with the rider's weight onboard, or using a sag simulation. Why? Because the chain angle changes as the suspension compresses. Even seasoned mechanics sometimes set tension with the rear wheel lifted, then forget that once the bike is loaded, slack disappears. The result is premature bearing wear and tight spots in the chain. Incorrect alignment also eats sprockets and reduces power. Use alignment tools or fixed markers. Don't guess. Riders who check slack and alignment every 500 miles prevent hundreds in drivetrain damage. Stupid riders just ride until it fails, and it always fails at the worst time. Number 10. Using car wax or harsh cleaners on plastic panels. That bottle of wax that makes your car shine? It might destroy your motorcycle's paint or dull your matte finish. Motorcycles often have different clear coats, decals, or textured plastics that don't react well to automotive waxes or silicone-based cleaners. Some riders use tire shine on seats, slippery, glass cleaner on visors, damaging, or dish soap on paint, strips protective oils. Over time, you'll notice faded panels, peeling stickers, and rubber trim cracking early. Even windshields and gauge clusters can yellow or haze from ammonia-based glass cleaners. And don't even think about pressure washing directly at seals or switches. It forces water where it doesn't belong. Always use motorcycle-specific cleaners. It's not marketing, it's chemistry. The wrong product won't show damage immediately, but by the time you see it, the surface is already ruined. Number 11. Trusting online forums over the owner's manual. Forums can be gold or garbage. Blindly following advice from someone who's been riding 20 years without checking the manual leads to overfilled oil, wrong tire pressure, incorrect torque specs, and skipped service intervals. The owner's manual isn't optional, it's your bike's blueprint. Chain slack? It's in there. Valve check interval? It's in there. Brake fluid type? It's in there. Some forum posts even recommend mixing brake fluid brands, ignoring air filter cleaning intervals, or suggesting unsafe torque values, none of which a factory tech would approve. Smart riders cross-reference everything. Dumb ones take the first comment they see and run with it. Manuals exist for a reason. Respect the engineers, not just internet opinion. Number 1. Don't hold clutch at every red light. Some riders keep the clutch pulled in for every stop, thinking they're staying ready. But over time, this adds wear to clutch plates, springs, and the cable itself. The better move? Shift to neutral at longer stops, but only when you've checked your rear for traffic. The Motorcycle Safety Foundation recommends staying in gear only when you need a quick getaway, like at the front of a lane. Otherwise, release the tension. Long-term riders with 200,000 plus miles usually have one thing in common. They don't cook their clutches at every intersection. Number 2. Don't skip valve clearance checks. Silence can be deadly. If your valves get too tight, they don't fully close. That burns the valve seats, lowers compression, and eventually causes engine failure. But here's the twist. Tight valves don't make noise. They go quiet. So the "my bike sounds fine" excuse? Totally unreliable. Modern motorcycles typically need a valve check every 15,000 to 26,000 miles. Ignore that, and the damage adds up silently. One rider on a Yamaha Tracer skipped his first valve service and blew a valve at 38,000. The rebuild cost him $1,400. Another, who followed the schedule religiously, cleared $240,000 on original heads. Coincidence? Not a chance. Check out the description if you want to grab these tools, and also my own secret tools that I personally use on my motorcycles. Number 3. Use a torque wrench on everything you touch. Over-torqued drain plugs, under-torqued axle nuts, stripped threads. These destroy parts long before they wear out. Most bolts on motorcycles are installed into aluminum, and that material is soft. A drain plug that should be torqued to 15 foot-pounds will crack your crankcase if you muscle it tight by hand. A good torquey wrench costs $40 and prevents thousands in damage. Every high-mileage rider knows, snug isn't safe, spec is. You'll find the correct torque values in your service manual. Use it. Because once a thread is stripped, it's machine shop time, and that gets expensive fast. Habit number 4. Don't skimp on oil quality or change intervals. Oil isn't just a lubricant, it's your bike's lifeblood. Cheap oil breaks down faster, fails under heat, and leaves behind carbon that sticks to piston rings, cam lobes, and clutch plates. Your oil filter can't catch sludge that forms inside passages. Want your bike to see 300,000 miles? Stick with motorcycle-specific oil. Look for JASOMA2 spec. Change it every 3,000 miles and never reuse old oil, just one more time. Studies show engine wear increases 2.5 times beyond 5,000 miles on most bikes. One rider who hit 280,000 on a VFR 800 swore by early oil changes and full synthetic. No tricks, just consistency. Number 5. Clean and lube your chain every 300 to 500 miles. Your chain doesn't just power your wheel, it protects your gearbox and output shaft. When neglected, it stretches, grinds sprockets, and adds load to the transmission. After just 500 miles, grime from the road builds up like sandpaper between links. Without cleaning and lube, friction increases, which also robs you of fuel economy and torque. Clean every 300 to 500 miles or immediately after rain. Use a proper O-ring safe cleaner, a brush, and follow up with chain lube while the chain's still warm. It takes 10 minutes. A chain failure at speed? Costs more than a tow. It could total your ride. Number 6. Don't skip air filter maintenance. Your air filter is your engine's only defense against dust, sand, and microscopic grit. A dirty filter means less airflow, higher fuel consumption, and hotter combustion. That's a fast lane to valve damage, ring wear, and loss of compression. Inspect it every 5,000 miles for road bikes. Off-road? Check it every ride. One CRF owner posted photos of a filter turned gray after 2 dusty weekends, ran lean, and toasted the top end. Don't wait for a warning light. Clean it, or replace it if clogged. It's a $15 part that saves your $1,500 engine. Number 7. Clean electrical connectors and ground points. Yearly. Corrosion creeps in silently. One day your starter button works. The next day, click. Nothing. Most of the time, it's not a dead battery, it's a dirty ground or corroded connector. Every 12 months, unplug your critical connections ECU, battery leads, fuses, ignition, spray them with contact cleaner, and apply dielectric grease. This habit prevents shorts, false dash warnings, and hard starts. On bikes that hit 200K plus, you'll find that consistent riders treat wiring like fuel, essential, invisible, and easily ignored, until it's too late. If these 7 habits are already saving you headaches, imagine what the next 8 could save. Tap that subscribe button now. You'll thank yourself when your engine still purrs at 300,000 miles. Number 8. Flush your brake fluid. Every 2 years, minimum. Brake fluid absorbs moisture over time, reducing stopping power and corroding everything from calipers to ABS sensors. And if it boils, you lose braking altogether. DOT4 and DOT5.1 fluid are hygroscopic, meaning they suck moisture from air, even with the cap on. If you ride in rain, humidity, or use your brakes heavily, flush them yearly. Use a moisture tester if needed. Riders who skip this habit end up with seized calipers, warped rotors, or spongy levers, costing hundreds to fix. Brake failure isn't a maybe, it's when. Number 9. Always let the engine warm up before riding hard. You don't need to idle forever. But those first 1 to 3 minutes matter more than you think. Cold oil is thick. It doesn't reach all components fast enough. Starting the engine, letting it idle for 30 to 60 seconds, then riding gently for 5 to 10 minutes helps expand parts evenly and lubricate bearings. Revving hard when cold increases piston slap, uneven heat expansion, and premature wear. One BMW mechanic said, "Cold start abuse is the #1 cause of top-end rebuilds under 50,000. You want your engine to last? Treat it like it needs time to wake up too." Number 10. Never ignore coolant health or radiator cleaning. Coolant doesn't last forever. Over time, it turns acidic and starts eating aluminum, starting with the water pump and moving into the cylinder head. Flush your system every 2 years, or every 24,000 miles, and use only distilled water and motorcycle-safe coolant. If your radiator fins are clogged, your coolant isn't doing its job. Bent fins block airflow and trap heat. One V-Strom owner saved a $1,000 head gasket job by replacing his brown coolant and straightening his radiator fins. If you ever see white steam or a spike in temp, even for a few seconds, you're overdue. Thermal stress compounds fast. Keep it clean and cool. Number 11. Never ignore chain alignment. Marks. Your chain isn't just tension sensitive, it's angle sensitive. If your rear axle is even slightly misaligned, it causes the chain to rub, bind, and wear unevenly. That increases drag, kills sprockets, and causes chain slap. Don't trust the tick marks alone. Use a straight edge or chain alignment tool if possible. Misalignment as small as 2 millimeters can reduce chain life by 30%. One long-distance iron butt rider shared he replaced chains every 20,000 miles until he started checking alignment every tire swap. Now, 35,000 plus miles per chain. Number 12. Let the fuel pump prime every time. Turn the key, wait 2 seconds, then start the engine. That's how long your fuel pump needs to fully pressurize the injectors. Riders who jab the start button immediately are shortening the life of their pump and risking poor cold starts. Modern EFI bikes rely on steady pressure. Constant dry starts burn out the pump's motor and starve your engine on ignition. A replacement pump? $250 to $500 depending on the bike. 2 seconds of patience adds years to its life. Every serious long-haul rider knows this and respects the prime. Number 13. Ride it or store it right. Bikes that sit for weeks or months without prep are magnets for problems. Ethanol in fuel absorbs moisture, batteries lose charge, and seals dry out. If you're not riding for more than 2 weeks, use fuel stabilizer, disconnect or trickle charge the battery, inflate the tires fully, and cover it properly. Long-term riders say, Either ride it weekly or store it like you won't touch it for 6 months. The worst mileage killers are the ones who kind of ride it once a month. Commit to the habit or commit to repairs. Number 14. Wash the underside, not just the paint. Most riders clean the tank, seat, and wheels, but skip under the swing arm, belly pan, or forks. That's where salt, grime, and chain lube mix into corrosive sludge. Left alone, it eats your linkage bearings, rusts fasteners, and damages radiator mounts. Spray underbody areas lightly with degreaser and rinse with low-pressure water. Do this monthly or more if you ride in rain. A 300,000-mile engine is worthless on a rusted-out frame. Preservation happens where no one's looking. Number 15. Ride smooth. Not slow, not aggressive, just smart. Riding hard doesn't kill a bike. Riding jerky does. Aggressive throttle roll-ons, hard downshifts, and late braking stress every component from the clutch to suspension. Smooth riders shift at optimal RPMs, roll on the throttle evenly, and avoid panic inputs. Why does that matter? Because it reduces wear on drivetrain components, bushings, tires, and even fork seals. One Goldwing rider averaged 80,000 per set of fork seals. Another burned through 3 sets by 60,000. Same bike, different rider behavior. Smooth isn't slow, it's surgical. It's what keeps bikes alive long after their sticker date says they're done. Bonus habit. Log everything. Maintenance memory is unreliable. Logging oil changes, brake flushes, chain adjustments, tire swaps, even fuel economy, gives you a blueprint of your bike's health. Riders who document every change know when things are off before disaster hits. One rider noticed his MPG dropped 10%, tracked it back to a sticking caliper before it overheated the rotor. Logging your mileage, maintenance, and riding conditions takes 5 minutes, but saves thousands.